All right, welcome, Gwen.
Hello, hello.
So, Gwen, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to.
Well, thank you for having me on here. First of all, I think what you're doing is just amazing, and I'm so stoked to be here. My name is Gwen, and I am a bartender at New Oasis Brewing Company, where I've been for about 3.5 years. And I've been sober bartending for a little over 4.5. And I'm from El Paso, but I lived in Corpus for over 30 years. So I count Corpus as home. And I love this city. I love this city to death, and all its trashy gloriousness. And I know I belong here. And yeah, so I'm just happy to be here.
That's awesome. I gotta say, I moved to Corpus. I've been here for about 4 months. And even before I started bartending, just going out and looking for work. And, my husband drinks. So we found Goalies where I work now. And all I heard at first was, you got to meet Gwen. You got to meet Gwen. And customers, oh, you're sober. You got to meet Gwen. And a lot of times you're like, just because somebody else is sober does, but the more I hear, I'm like, I can't wait to freaking meet Gwen. So this is the first time this is happening, and I'm so excited that we get to capture it and share it.
Me too.
So everybody's heard my story, but can you tell us what brought you to the point of becoming a sober bartender? Like, just, what brought you, just let us know what it was like and what happened.
Sure, sure. So I think, like a lot of people, I started drinking at a very young age. I remember my dad is an alcoholic. He's been sober in AA over 30 years. So I think he
Um,
just celebrated like his 33rd or 34th sober birthday. So I come from a long line of alcoholics. It's not like I'm some kind of anomaly, but for me, drinking has just always been present in my life, whether it was my family drinking or them giving me drinks when I was little, and like there's a picture of my dad holding a beer to my mouth when I was a kid. So it's kind of just
yeah.
how life was, and I really didn't think about it that it was maybe dysfunctional. Um, so I started drinking when I was about 12, and it was an on and off thing. And I started a pattern of really leaning into the drinking and using it as a way to feel better, and then a way of me kind of recognizing I was getting out of control and being able to pull myself out of it. So I kind of always self-regulated in that way. In high school, I grew up in El Paso, so we were going to party over at Juarez all the time. You could walk over in Mexico in those days. When I was 14, I was going to a foreign country, not foreign to me, but
Yeah.
a different country, and getting messed up and walking back over, and I recognized I was getting out of control, and I had my parents put me in private Christian school because I knew it was getting crazy, and that was a pattern I kind of set forth for my whole life. But every time I would go back out drinking, I would get a little bit crazier, and so that continued, and um, it was just like I was a fun party girl, and I was a fun party girl up until I wasn't. And uh, for me, what happened was I was head of the developmental writing department at Texas A&M Kingsville. So I have a bachelor and master's degree, and I was an academic, and I loved it. And I got my program taken from me because of the 2008 recession, and they were cutting programs, and they cut my program. And I all of a sudden, as a single mom, had no paychecks coming in, and so I had bartended before, and I think I was like 30. What am I now? I'm 47. So I guess I was about 35, 36, and I went back to bartending. And that for me was kind of the big turn down the rabbit hole, and because then it was like, oh, I can do, my favorite things. I can drink while I'm working and I get to socialize, and I got a job at my bar I always hung out at all the time anyways. And so all my friends were there and I got to make money and drink, and that took only about a year before my family had an intervention. And then I started my first medical detox over at Charlie's place. And that was not the end. That was the first of so many medical detoxes. And little did I know what path I was about to go down, So I was one of those constant medical detox, out for a little while, and I would start drinking again because I'd feel good, and then I get to the point of being physically addicted and I'd have to go to medical detox, and it was just constant um, hospital visits for me. I got the DTs when I um, detoxed cold turkey, and ended up in the hospital for a while, and got out and was drinking less than 30 days later. It's just insanity. It was just insanity. And it was just me trying to find my way, and I just couldn't find it. And for my family, it was very frustrating because my dad had gotten sober the first time. You just stopped drinking in AA. You just stopped the first time, and they just couldn't understand why I couldn't get it. And I burned through everybody. I burned through my friends. I burned through my family, and I ended up living out of my car. And I lost my daughter. My family took her from me, and rightfully so, but that was kind of like really what led to the final bottom. Was I had nothing holding me together at this point. I didn't have anywhere I was living, I just was in my car and trying to stay places, or sleeping in my car places. And um went through 3 medical detoxes in less than 3 months, and it was just it was crazy. And finally I was done, and I called my brother, and he's an ER nurse. And I said, I was like, I promise, although I've said that so many times, this is, it's so weird, but when you know that you're done, you just somehow know, is the only thing I can say. And people are like, how do you know? How do you know? You just know. I don't know how else to explain it. Something happens. The final puzzle piece fits, or it clicks, or whatever. And I was just like, I'm done. I'm finally done. I know I'm done. And that was May 2018. And he went into the ER, his ER, with me, and did my IV and had me checked in. And the doctor was basically told me, he's like, I don't know why you're trying to commit such a slow suicide, is what he told me. And I was like, I'm done, I'm done. And I was, and now it's like, that was May 4th. May the 4th be with you. May 4th, 2018. And but I got out of rehab and I didn't know what to do, because I just knew how to bartend, and I didn't feel the confidence to go back to teaching because I just felt like I didn't belong in teaching. I'm just, I just had this view of myself as being just a fuck up, and I didn't feel like I deserved to go back to teaching. And so and I love bartending, I really do, I do. I love being around people. I'm good at it. And so I just stayed bartending, and I was lucky enough that Kelly hired me over at Gully's, and they believed in me and they supported me, which I think is so important. I don't think I could have worked at my old bar. I think I would have drawn back in. But at Goalies, the regulars, everyone was super supportive of me. They didn't think I was a weirdo, or they weren't just like, you don't belong with us or something. It was just a very inclusive, inviting, welcoming family environment, I felt like. And so it worked, and I could stay bartending. And I feel like I'm talking a lot, but
That's what you're here for. You're doing
okay.
great.
I did the 90 meetings in 90 days like they tell you to do, and at that point I was ready to do anything. I think that's probably what the final straw was. I was really ready to do anything there was to do. And my problem with AA the whole time had been, I don't believe in God, you know, and I don't believe in a God. I don't believe in any, you know, anything like that. And it was really hard for me, the whole God thing. I grew up in the church. My mom was a pastor. My stepdad is a pastor. I'm a pastor's kid. And so for me, at first, the God word was really loaded, you know, but when you are desperate to get sober, when you are so sick and tired of being miserable, you'll do anything, you know, you'll just be like, whatever you say, you know, I'm willing to forgo all of
Yes.
my, you know,
All your
problems with
preconceived
things.
notions.
Yes, yes. And I'll do anything that needs to be done. And I think that's probably what the key is just being there.
It's surrender. What you
Yes.
just described, the being ready and the being willing to just take whatever is given to you. It's just surrender to let something else take over.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. 100%. And so I dug in, you know, and I did the 90 meetings in 90 days. I made sober friends. And that was one of the things I was so scared of, was that my whole life revolved around drinking. All my friends drank. All my friends drank in the bar where I worked. So I was, you know, that
Yep.
was my life. If I, you know, I got out at 8 p.m., I would stay there drinking the whole rest of the day, you know? And I was really terrified. Who am I going to be? What is my life even going to look like? You know, I'm not going to have any friends. I'm not going to have anything to do. I'm just going to sit at home, be a lame-o. And, you know, that's not at all the case. That's not at all how it turns out being. I mean, I guess you could make it that way if you want to stay miserable, but um, I made new friends. I also kept my old friends, but I also made new friends. And um, I found an AA group that worked for me. It was called Free Thinkers, and it's a secular AA group. And so the focus was more on personal responsibility than it was on any kind of like a religious figure, which for me was like, yeah, I finally found somewhere where I fit, you know, and I
Mm-hmm.
fit in there, and it was really great. And um, I stayed in that group for a couple years. And again, I'm so stubborn. I'm just so stubborn. And I just rode the pink, what they call the pink cloud, for the first 2 years. I didn't work all the steps. I didn't even get a sponsor. I kind of did, but I kind of didn't. And then and I think for me, I was so far down. Like, I was medically at the point where the doctors told me I had about a year to live if I kept drinking. My liver was about to go out, you know, and so for me, that was enough to keep me sober for those first 2 years. But then the pandemic hit and all the bars closed. And, you know, like everybody else, I was stuck at home with myself. And it was kind of like, because I hadn't worked the steps, I hadn't totally dealt with all of my shit, you know. I had dealt with some of it just through going through meetings and sober friends and all that stuff, but I hadn't really gotten all the way in. And when the pandemic hit and I was stuck at home, it was the strangest thing. It was like everything, all of my stuff just started coming out, and I was crying all the time. I was depressed. I was even suicidal at one point, and I thought, what the heck is going on? And it hit me. I hadn't even done all the steps. You know, I was seriously just riding that pink cloud high, and that burst, you know, that was
Yeah.
done. And I was really faced with myself, and I got a sponsor and I worked the steps, and lo and behold, all of that stuff, I worked through it and it's gone, you know. Duh. So stubborn.
You hear
Think,
it for two
think.
years and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, uh-huh, yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel great. I don't need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, your shit will find its way out no matter how much you try to stuff it down. It's gonna come out, and
Mhm.
it's gonna affect your life in really negative ways. So yeah, so man, and that was like, and something I've kind of realized too is my recovery uh, kind of has like, there's levels to it, you know, like I think I'm like, oh man, I have, you know, found the keys to everything. And then it's like, no, there's a whole other level that happens, and then a whole other level. And to me, that's what's so cool. It's a great journey. And so after that, um, I the I'm not going to talk about the guy that I was dating, but the relationship ended, and because I have respect for that guy, and the relationship ended, and I ended up moving out and getting my own place. And this was still the pandemic, and everything was still shut down.
Yeah.
Bartenders still didn't have jobs, you know.
Mhm.
It was a wild time, but I moved into this house that had this huge backyard, and I just was sitting out in it with my dog, and I was like, why don't I just start having, and I was having, I was having women message me on Facebook and stuff, and they were like, oh, my drinking's gotten crazy in the pandemic, you know,
Yeah.
we have nothing to do, so we just drink all day, every day. And they're like, I am miserable and I am hating this and I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know how to stop. And it was enough women to where I was like, you know, maybe I could just start a group. And so I did. And it's called SURF, Sisters United in Recovery and Friendship. And we started meeting in my backyard. And one of my sober friends, she was a yoga instructor. So she was out of a job too. And so she just started teaching yoga for free in the you know, before the meetings. And I mean, we just had all kinds of guests. We had someone on for, you know, like physical fitness. She was a fitness coach, and you know, people would just come in and talk, you know, we would meet and support each other in recovery, and it was really cool. And that kind of kept going up until well, we just had our last meeting this past week. So that was super cool. What a cool thing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I relapsed in the pandemic. Like
Oh.
I did, yeah. So hearing you, like I know that a lot of us were in that place, but I love
Yeah.
hearing that people, you know, found something else and, you know, dug deeper and looked for solutions. Cause I like left Vegas to go to Seattle and got drunk and got married and got divorced. And so I love
Oh
hearing
man.
what direction you went.
Well, I get that because that's totally how my life was too. So I totally understand that, you
Mhm.
know. Uh
But yeah,
yeah, I
those,
think
go
I
ahead.
was just done, you know. I'm 47. Like, how long can I keep this thing going, really, you know?
Yeah.
Um, wow, what a story.
Yes, but your story. So I've heard from a lot of people that in between all this, you were also going to Costa Rica.
Yes. So, I have always wanted to live uh overseas or in a different country. My whole life I wanted that, and um I went to Costa like when I was 6 months sober, and went down there and visited my friend Michelle, who is awesome. She's the best. She'd lived down there like 10 years already. So I went down there. I fell in love. I just loved Costa Rica. I love being down there, and oh, that it's just great. And so um another one of my, I guess it's another part of me being so stubborn, is that I will find a way to make something happen if I want it to happen. I will fit, you know, the square peg in the round hole. You know, like I will beat it in there and make it fit. And um and I kind of was had reached this point where I was like, I don't want to bartend anymore. Yeah, you know, I'm getting older, and I need retirement, and I need, you know, I need these things. And I thought, you know, I would go back to teaching, and I would teach overseas, and I'd go to Costa Rica, and I made that happen. And I got my TEFL certificate, which is teaching English as a foreign language. And I quit my job managing the brewery. I was working at the brewery as a I managed it, the tap room, and it was a lot, it was my whole life. And I was just feeling overwhelmed by that. And my recovery was kind of suffering because my whole life was my job. And that was me putting that on myself. That wasn't anyone putting on it. I'm a hard worker. And if I do something, I want it to be done well. And what that meant for me was sacrificing my life, and so I was just, needing to get out of here. And so I quit my job and I moved to Costa Rica. But, and it was amazing, and I went down there thinking I was going down there for one reason, but the magic of Costa Rica is that it will turn it into what it needs to be, I feel like. And what ended up happening was I actually found my spiritual awakening that they talk about in AA. And I found it through Recovery Dharma. I was going to AA meetings. They have AA in Costa Rica, believe it or not. And it's so cool because it's all these people from all over the world who moved to Costa Rica thinking it was going to cure their alcoholism. And it only got worse in Costa Rica.
Because what a beautiful place to drink.
Yeah. I mean, yes, exactly. It's like permanent vacation. And so yeah, AA meetings there were really great. They were good. But it was still something in me, just for me, kind of felt like it was missing. And I had kind of gone to some recovery Dharma meetings online. I had toyed around, with Buddhism here and there because I find it fascinating. And I really just started going to a lot of Recovery Dharma meetings, and it just, something clicked for me. And I was like, this is the way I want to see the world, and this is the way I want to live my life. And you can even see it as the 11th step in AA. They can go hand in hand. You can do Recovery Dharma and AA. It's not like they were mutually exclusive, So I started going to Recovery Dharma, and then I ended up having to come back to Corpus because I got in this car wreck before I left, and a 21-year-old girl T-boned me in an intersection. I had the green, she ran the red, and it made me upside down on my truck. And financially, I couldn't sell it now because I would still owe $4,000, and I wasn't making enough money in Costa Rica to pay that. So lo and behold, I had to come back to Corpus for financial reasons. But you know what? Now it's, of course, I'm like, yeah, of course I had to come back to Corpus because I'm not done here yet. No matter how much I want to not be here per se, it's not, my time isn't done. And I was here still going to Recovery Dharma online, and I thought, why not just start a meeting here in Corpus? And so that's, what happened.
So you got to bring your gifts that you found in Costa Rica and bring them back home.
Yes, it was amazing, and it's been really well received so far. And it's, oh my gosh, what a journey. My girlfriend Asia and she and I and my friend Cher are starting Recovery Dharma, and we had been going around passing flyers out. We went to Charlie's place, which is the first place I detoxed 10 years ago. In March, it'll be 10 years exactly that I went there to detox. And we went in there and just handed them our flyer to let them know, we're starting this different recovery option for Corpus. And, in case you have people that are interested in this type of recovery, the Buddhist base, and meditation, focuses on meditation, loving kindness. And the guy, the head of recovery there, he said, oh my gosh, I'm super interested in meditation. I always have been, but I just can't seem to get the hang of it or what it is, and da da da. And he said, can I come to your meeting? And we were like, yeah, that'd be cool. And he said, and would you guys be interested in coming back next week and giving like an hour-long presentation on Recovery Dharma? And that wasn't even in our minds for anything we were even thinking of doing. We just wanted to start this meeting and get it going. And then here we are already being asked to present on it. And it was like, whoa, we weren't expecting that. And I think when you find your path, you find your way, it's like those sorts of things just start happening. I'm sure you're finding that with the podcast, right?
Yes, like once you just take one step, you don't have to figure out what's all the way down the line. Like each step opens up this new part of the path, and it's amazing. It just the path paves itself.
Yes. Perfect way to say it. Yeah, the path paves itself. And it's not even like, because you're not even in control. And that's the great part, because thank God that I'm not in control.
I say that all the time. Thank God it's not, this is not up to me. I'm just doing like the next best thing that I can do.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so we went and we gave that talk, and that was last Wednesday. And I did not know how people were going to receive it. I mean, this is Corpus. We're not necessarily Bible Belt country, but it's very heavily, Christian down here. And I thought, and a lot of people think Buddhism, oh my God, it's some scary, weird foreign religion. But that's not at all what Recovery Dharma is. You don't become a Buddhist through Recovery Dharma. It's just using the Buddhist principles of compassion and loving kindness to heal yourself and to connect with other people, and it's nothing weird or scary or anything like that. And we gave our talk, and oh, it went so great and so well received. They were like clapping and cheering. And we just, we just looked at each other. We were like, is this what's happening right now? Are they actually cheering and clapping? I mean, it was just so cool. And they came up to us, the residents and the rehab came up, and they were so grateful, and they asked us to come back. And the administration came up, and they was like, can you all please come back every week? How cool is that?
That's amazing. Full circle, 10 years later.
Yeah. 10 years later from where I started, you know, and here I am on the other side. And I'm looking out at the residents, and I said, I am you. I am you, and um people know when you're being genuine. And I think they knew that, you know,
Mm-hmm. They
yeah,
know
she's
how
been
much you
here.
care. Like you're not trying to sell them something, and you're not trying to push something. Like they know that you're there just because you care.
Yeah, deeply.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now we're gonna be going back. I'm going back tomorrow for we're gonna have like we're gonna do a presentation, and then we're just gonna start meetings. Every 4 weeks comes a new group of residents. They stay there for 30 days. So it'll be like a presentation, and then we'll just have Recovery Dharma meetings till the next group, and then we'll have another presentation, blah blah blah. So ugh, it's so cool,
That's
life.
incredible.
And I was gonna drink myself to death, and I thought I had no hope, and I thought my life was gonna be lame.
Yeah, like life is over without drinking, and it's so not. It's just beginning.
Yes. And I feel the longer I go on, the more I discover my true self. I reconnect with my true self, who I was before drinking got a hold of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reconnecting with that little girl. And when I was young, I had told my mom I told her I wanted to be a missionary, and I wanted to go to Asia. That's what I told her when I was like 6. Mom, I want to be a missionary. I want to go to Asia. I want to, take the message to the world. And it's kind of interesting that it's sort of starting to be that way, but not quite in the way that I thought. And I am reconnecting to that little girl. So yeah, life is so cool. It's very cool.
It's amazing. I call it the unbecoming, right? Like all of the things that we like, all the armor that we put on to protect ourselves or to deal with, the way life is happening around us. And it's like the more work we do internally, and the more we just walk the path one step at a time, it's like all those things start to fall away, and like we get to go back to who we actually are.
Yes. And love
Yeah.
yourself. Like I truly love myself. And I remember looking in the mirror when I was deep into my alcoholism, and I looked at my bloodshot eyes and my red face and my bloated red face, because at that point my liver was starting to not work and I was so bloated from the water. And I just remember looking at myself and saying, you are a monster. You're a monster. You know, I had lost my daughter. I had lost everything and I couldn't stop drinking even then. I still kept going, you know, and I just remember saying, you're a monster. And now I look at that same face, healthy face now, you know, and I'm like, I love you. And I do, you know, and like you said, it's like little bit by little bit, you recover yourself and you
Mhm.
learn to love yourself a little bit more. And then you invest in yourself more because you're worth it, you know, and it's so cool. It's very cool. And
It is like through all of that, I really couldn't trust myself. That's a big thing for me is that, every time I would try to get sober or even just, oh, I'm going to take a week off or, oh, I'm training for this fitness event. I'm going to take 6 weeks off. And then I would drink that same day. My trust for myself diminished more and more. And then when I really started to try to get sober and then I would drink, um, it was terrifying. And now I can trust that when I go to do something, I've got my back. Like I'm going to be there. So I'm okay. Like moving to
yes.
Corpus, my husband got this job offer. It was a week before our wedding. We just got married in July.
Oh, wow.
And Texas A&M Corpus Christi reached out and offered him a job as a pitching coach for the baseball team. And I had been down here a few years before. So I said, I almost moved there and it's gorgeous. So we moved down here, and before, like, I would do all these geographics where I was like just trying to get away from myself. And this was the first time that I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna be okay because I'm gonna be there.
Yes.
Whereas before it was get away from me. Now it's like, no, I can be anywhere with myself. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. And it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Ah, I love it.
Yeah. And that's like, it's hard to portray those things to people about what recovery is like. Like it just, like I hear from, once again, like I hear about you. I heard about you at the dentist's office. I had a,
What?
I had a crown pop out when I was flossing. And I went to the dentist and I'm like really anxious and like sobby at the dentist. Like I freak
Oh,
out. And the hygienist was like, we're just chatting and she's kind of trying to keep me calm. And I was talking about the podcast. Yeah, I'm starting this podcast. It's called The Sober Bartender. And she's like, oh, Sober Bartender. Do you know Gwen? And I'm like, I need to meet this lady. Like, it's everywhere I go, I hear your name.
what? I didn't even know that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yep. Yeah. It was just, I knew that this meeting needed to happen because, like, the light that you shine in this town is immense. Like, you're everywhere without even knowing it by just being who you are.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad I'm being known for that rather than like stabbing my ex-boyfriend's tires like I was known for before.
But that's what makes it even better. Like the people that knew me before are like even more proud than the people that just meet me the way that I am because they just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Very
Mhm.
good point. Yeah,
Like
people
these
saw
people
my
are
light.
proud of you because they know where you started.
Wow, that's so cool. That makes me happy.
Like a
Oh,
local celebrity, and you're famous for just being a light in the world.
wow, I didn't even know that because I don't really even like go out that much. I don't feel like, but how cool. Thank you for telling me that.
Hmm.
Makes me want to cry.
Yep.
Oh, that's so awesome because like my friend group on on the island is my friends are dying and they're dying every year and it's horrible tragic deaths because of drinking and because of drug addiction and oh it's something that for me weighs on me all the time, you know, and it is hard for me to see their suffering, you know, because I'm not so far removed from it that I don't remember what that feels like.
Absolutely.
And um I just want to do everything I can to light the path, you know?
I do.
Yeah. So, yeah, my time in Corpus is not done, even though I keep trying to get out of here. I think I'm done trying to get out of here at this point. You know, whenever it's time for the next step, like you said, it'll just happen.
I try not to think that I know what's on the horizon.
Yeah.
I just know what's the next thing in front of me. And so I'm just gonna keep doing those things. And my dog
Yeah.
was trying to get in here.
Oh, well, those dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And otherwise it's overwhelming. And otherwise, you know, then it's like you become me focused, you know, and I'm definitely trying to stay out of that, just being open to however I can be used, you know, and my experiences and um, you know, yeah.
Yeah, like
And I
our walk through the dark is one thing, but like bringing light to it and like bringing it out into the light, that's kind of my whole thing is like, yes, I did all these things and I did make all these choices, and then I shine a light on them and go like, you don't have to do this, or this is what I did to get out of it, and here's my hand, please take it and come with me. And so to me, another woman who feels exactly the same passion and
yeah,
just shining a
totally.
light on the world. Because I mean,
Because life is hard.
it really is. It
It's so
really is.
hard.
And so many of us suffer in silence. You know, I know so many people that are suffering that people think are just so happy, because I was one of those people. You know, I was out entertaining people behind the bar, but then I went home and I wanted to die. Like I either wanted to stop drinking or die. And it was almost a year of that. So thank goodness I didn't have the willpower then to take my life that I do now to take back my life.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And you know, the louder we are and the more vocal we are, you know, the better the light shines.
Yeah,
So, yeah, totally.
I think
Uh
the farther our reach. So I do have a question. Do you have
yeah,
like a ritual or a routine for your day? Like, do you have like a morning thing, or do you have any like tips or?
totally. So, one of the things I realized when I was managing the brewery was that I lost that, you know, I lost any kind of routine because it was just wake up and deal with brewery stuff, you know, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to go to Costa Rica too. I was like, I need to shock my system. I need to really something. I just felt the need to do something way outside of the norm, you know, of my life, the routine that my life had gotten into, because I knew that's not how I wanted my life to be. But it was almost like I didn't want to drink. It was not like I wanted to drink, but I was also like, I know this is not how I want my sober life to be. This is not what I want it to be, you know? And so I went to Costa Rica and I went with my daughter, and we kind of just, it ended up being like a little bit of gap time. You know, people take a gap year. We took a gap 2 months. She went with me, and I set the intention to come up with a new daily routine. And so I did. And Recovery Dharma is something that really helped me with that, because with its focus on meditation, that's a great way to start your day. So I started my routine. I would wake up, I would meditate. I started doing yoga. That's another key thing that's really kept me healthy. I wanted to be healthy, and uh, that really helped. So I would meditate, I would do yoga, we would go on walks, we would be in nature. And when I realized I had to come back to Corpus, I thought, I'm not going to lose that routine. No matter what I do, I'm not going to lose that routine. And I've stayed with it. And meditation is can be a scary thing. Um, so it's, you know, you sit with yourself, especially right when you get sober. You don't want to be with I mean, you have so many things coming into your mind right when you first get sober. it's just like so many voices and it's overwhelming. So the last thing you want to do is sit with yourself, but I found Insight Timer, which is an app and it's free, and it has all kinds of guided meditations on there. And so I just started doing those, and from there my meditation practice has grown. And that's kind of how I set my day, and I've struggled with all kinds of things in the meantime. I tried dating for a little while, and that was sort of a disaster, but so I was having different things happen in life, how life does. And so I would just do a meditation on gratitude or loving kindness or compassion. And that would really help me to get out of whatever, if I was in any kind of mood, or it sets the tone for my day rather. And so I meditate, and I do yoga, and I do some kind of workout, and that's pretty much sets the tone for my day. Now, am I perfect and do it every day? No, sometimes things happen and you can't. But you have to be loving kindness, right? And compassion. You have to have compassion for yourself. You're not a robot. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's pretty much what my mornings look like.
And people don't realize what a big difference it makes just to have a something. Like I wake up and I do a 10-item gratitude list with a sponsee back and forth. So that, that's great in early recovery. And you think that you're just being grateful, but really you're also setting these habits to in the morning start your day thinking about something good in your life instead of all the negative things that are coming in. And then I meditate, and that started with like reading a daily reflection and then writing what I thought about it. And then it grew into sitting and being able to actually meditate and clear and ground. And then I do an ing writing. As soon as I'm done with meditation, I journal just whatever comes. And then my sponsor and I both do that and send that back and forth. So then eventually my sponsee will do that also, when we'll keep that whole thing going. But it's not perfect, but almost every day I just take that time. And then not that I could ever forget my alcoholism, but I'm still, I just reached 2 years. I'm not out of the woods. I need to remember that I'm an alcoholic, because when my life gets good, I kind of grab it and run with it.
Right.
And that's led me into some trouble. So doing these things daily, not as a punishment, but this is a reward for the life that I get to live.
Yes. And I think a lot of times too, it's like, oh, I have to do this thing and I have to do that thing. But it really, that's not what it is. It's, you get to do these things.
I
and
have the capacity to do these things when I didn't have the capacity to brush my teeth.
Yes, totally. And it is, it's a reward, like you said, and it's what makes life good. It makes you appreciate all the things that you do have instead of focusing on all, because negative things are going to happen. Suffering is going to happen. But if you have that grounding of gratitude, it really is what makes all the difference.
It really
Attitude of
is.
gratitude.
There are so many cliche sayings that we hear over the years, but they're true.
They're true.
Time. This too shall pass. It sure does.
It does.
Those things that feel like the end of the world. And I still get those feelings, that rush of oh, but now I have the knowledge of it can wash over me and then move past me. I don't grab it and take it and once again run with it and let it control my life. That's one of the biggest gifts that I've gotten from recovery, is that my emotions don't run my life.
Exactly. Yes, because it's all fleeting, it's impermanent and it will pass. The good passes and the bad passes, and you can stay very stable through all of it, which me and stability, I never thought would be in the same sentence,
Yeah.
I've just always been wild since I was little. And so it is very cool to discover that, oh, you know what? I can be stable. I can be the person that people think of when they're looking for stability. What?
Yeah.
Someone go tell my mom, you know?
Somebody write this down, take a picture.
Yeah, I put that poor woman through hell.
Oh, same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same. But it's incredible. And I really want to shine a light on bartenders because as
Yes.
you know, that's why I initially, well, I mean, I reached out because I had to, because every sign in the universe and in the physical world was pointing to, I need to meet Gwen. But also, you know, I'm talking to bartenders because so many of us just as a profession suffer because the service industry,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
it's saturated with alcoholism and addiction and depression. And I've lost so many, you know, coworkers over the years to suicide. And, you know, if their drinking didn't kill them, then, you know, they did it themselves. And
Yeah, their thoughts did. Yeah.
so I just want to show them that it's possible to, like, you know, to still do what you love and what you're good at and to still keep going, but in a totally different way. Um, because I didn't see that it was another sober bartender that reached out to me and said that drank like me. And she said, I'm not telling anyone, but I'm going to a detox. Like I have to do something. And that was the only time I had heard that somebody like me may have a way out.
That's a good point. And I should bring up my friend Dusty Burrows. He started this Facebook group called Sobar, Sober Bartender. And I stayed in that Facebook group, and he was a bartender on the island, and he ended up getting sober and moving to Dallas, and he got his master's for addictions counseling, and now he's, you know, a therapist, and it's just so cool. But he was a huge rock during all my 5 years of detoxing and rehabs, and you know, he's such a solid dude. And this Facebook group has just gotten huge, and it ended up being for the whole service industry. It started for just sober bartenders as a community, and then it's just grown into being for the whole service industry. And it is, you know, in the service industry, it's hard. People expect a lot from you, and it can be mentally, spiritually, physically exhausting to, because you are serving people, you are in the service of other people. And I, you know, people in the service industry they want to serve, they want to be a servant, they want to help, they want to, you know, they have those hearts already anyways.
Mhm.
And uh and so he was that Facebook group was huge for me. And that was where also I started to see, oh, there are other bartenders who are who want to stay in the profession but don't want to live the insanity, you know, of
Mhm.
service industry life. And yeah, that thing was huge for me, that Facebook group. And huge help, because there are sober, you know, we are out there, and it is totally possible to do that and be happy. And you know, and I don't look at people drinking at my bar and wish I was them. I don't, because I'm so happy with my own self and my own life that the need and the desire to drink is just not, you know, a thing. You
Yeah.
know, it's not to say the thought doesn't pass, like, oh, what it'd be like to have a drink right now. Those thoughts just come. You can't control that, your thoughts
Mhm.
appearing, but I already know that it's like, that's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
I just can't do that.
And we totally get to not act on every thought that we have.
Yes, and that's what's great about meditation too, is that you realize you can just let the thought, my dog here. Okay. You can just let the thought go through your mind and let it pass. You don't have to focus on it and let it be your mantra. You know, I was letting those thoughts be my mantras, and you don't have to do that. You know, you can recognize it for what it is. It's a thought, and then you can just let it go. And
Mhm.
it's cool, you know, it's so cool.
It is so cool. Like I would say before my relapse, I was sober almost 11, or I was sober a little over 11 months. I drank 10 days away from my first year,
Oh,
which is, I don't recommend because it's very
yeah.
shameful and very brutal on yourself. But for that first almost year, it was a fight. Like I was fighting those thoughts instead of letting them just come and pass. I was
Yes.
fighting it. Like, no, I don't think that. No, I'm not going to feel that. And it's like, it can come and then it can just go. And today there is no fight. Like you said, like there's no desire, you're not doing anything that I haven't done. And I know where it takes me. And I'm thankful that I know people that can do it safely without huge consequences.
Good point. Yeah. And now I can recognize there are people who are normal drinkers.
Yeah.
It's not all unhealthy. There are people who can have one or two and they're fine. They go about their day,
And their
I'm just not
life
one of
and
those people.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. And that used to be something that I would focus on too, is like, why can't I just be a normal drinker? And now I don't even ask that question because it doesn't matter. You
Mm-mm.
know, it doesn't matter.
I totally agree.
Life is good. Life is good. There was something I wanted to talk about and I don't remember what it was because my dog jumped on my lap. um, oh, I'm for meditating, I find that to also be of great help being in the service industry because as you know, people are cruel. They can
Mm-hmm.
be very cruel to servers and bartenders. And with meditation, I have found I'm much more calm. I used to react, even if it was just in my mind,
Uh-huh.
and just in my mind reacting to how people treated me. And now I can just recognize it as a thought, as something that's impermanent that happens, and I can let it go without dwelling on, how that made me feel or, oh my gosh, people are terrible. I just let it go. And so when my shift is done, I don't feel that need. I don't feel depleted. I don't feel that need to go out and party and forget the day because the day didn't affect me like it used to, if that makes sense.
That's the biggest gift ever, because that was a big thing for me, is that I just felt depleted, like everything that I had, I put out there, and then there was nothing left, like not ripping someone's head off or
Yes.
yeah. And since I've moved here, I had a hard time at first because I felt really out of place, but you worked at Goalies, like it is such a family atmosphere and everybody is so
Yes.
welcoming. But I had a wall up and I felt like it was everybody else's wall, but it was mine that I had projected. And when I recognized it and I carefully and nicely took down the wall, just lovingly was like, I don't need you. And then I just opened up. I'm happy every day. Like every
Yes.
day I'm happy to get in there. I'm happy while I'm there and I'm happy to go home. But like even mini meditations are crucial. Like this last Saturday night, I worked for a regular's birthday party.
Ah,
Yeah,
Kevin, motherfucking Johnson.
KMFJ. And
Yes.
there's a band in this little teeny tiny bar, and there's just two bartenders, and we had two that popped in to like help. But there was a moment where I had to like step behind the curtain and I had to just do like 5 breaths and like
Yes.
totally like self-regulate and like ground and then go back out. And back in the day, that would have been, I got to step back here and throw back 2 shots,
Yes. Yes.
right? And then I can deal with you. And this was just like, okay. And then my frown like switched because I knew that I was like angry. I was getting irritated with people. I was getting mad at money being shook in my face. And after I went back
Oh,
there, I totally shifted. And then I came back and I just had fun with it. I just did my best. I knew that people knew I was busy, but it was incredible to like recognize that, because that would totally be my thing. It's like, I just need to do a quick couple shots.
yes. And it's crazy because we use the word need. And I hear people who are still drinking say that I need this or I just have to do this. And it's really freeing to be like, I don't, I don't need that. And I don't have to do that. And it's crazy how something as simple as breathing, stepping back, taking 5 breaths, slowing
Mhm.
down is exactly this what you were taking the shot for, and you can regulate it with your own breath. It's so cool.
Because we're looking outside ourselves to change how we think and feel. And the answer, it's totally within us. And it's something that's totally given to us with our life, is our breath.
Yes.
Our breath is actually, that thing that we have to do to exist and live is the thing that can also give us exactly what we need. So,
Absolutely. 100%.
so this has been so awesome. I'm so glad that you came on here to tell us about what you're up to. Oh, I just
Me
got like a,
too.
a hot wave of
Yes,
like,
I've been having that for like 20 minutes and it's
oh,
not menopause.
no,
It's
not
not
yet.
menopause yet.
Not today.
No. No, I have such hope, for Corpus and I really think it's turning a tide and it's exciting to be part of that, And I know I'm so glad that to have met you. I'm so glad you're here. I'm
I'm
so
glad
glad
I'm
you're
here too.
here.
I feel like we're on the front line. Like I'm on the airwaves and you're on the ground and we're just going at it head on.
Yeah. And the more we do that, the more people are going to come out of the woodworks too. I'm seeing it happen all the time. My friend Bill is about to start a men's support group that I think is going to be really important. I think men, um, I'm not going to say they have a harder time than women, but sharing feelings and especially going back to, traumas, sharing your traumas is being vulnerable is so hard.
Mhm.
It's so hard. And I think that's one thing I was really scared of too, is being vulnerable because I was so used to having, like you said, a wall, having, we put these walls up to protect ourselves. But unfortunately, that's keeping us from the connection that we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah.
No, I love that. I feel like men need specific attention. Um, not because they're different so much. It's just like we benefit greatly from support from other women because we identify more. I feel like the support that men can give each other, men that have been there and that have cracked wide open, to let things in. It's really important. I talked to my cousin on an episode that'll be out in the future, and um, it wasn't about addiction, but it was about PTSD and late life
Mm.
divorce. And he's a Buddhist, and he's a Mormon turned Buddhist. So,
Wow.
he
Ooh, I can't wait for that talk. That'd be
yeah,
cool.
it's really exciting. Yeah. So hearing from him, it really did make me want to shift some attention and shine a spotlight onto like men and their specific needs in recovering from trauma and from addiction and alcoholism. So I'm just so glad that you're in the world. I'm so glad that you're in my world now.
Same.
So special. So is there any like last minute thoughts? Is there anything that you want to leave us with?
Mostly just hope and the understanding that recovery is a journey and there's ups and downs and backwards and forwards, or what feels like backwards, but is actually moving you forwards and you don't realize it. And just, yeah, trusting in yourself, having hope. And it will get better if you do the work. 100%.
I totally agree. Gwen, thank you so much.
Thank you. I loved being on here and I love doing this.
Oh, awesome. Okay.